Hitler took the guns. Stalin took the guns. Mao took the guns. Fidel Castro took the guns. Hugo Chavez took the guns. And I'm here to tell you, 1776 will commence again if you try to take our firearms. Doesn't matter how many lemmings you get out there on the street begging for them to have their guns taken. We will not relinquish them. Do you understand? That's why you're going to fail, and the establishment knows no matter how much propaganda, the Republic will rise again when you attempt to take our guns.
David Knight, welcome to the show. So John Kerry just signed the UN Arms Trade Treaty today. So what does that mean for the Second Amendment here in America?
Well, it doesn't mean anything just yet. But what they want to do is they want to register and track all guns. That's really about registering, tracking gun owners. It's not about gun control, it's about people control. And they need to understand that. They need to understand that this is really, as it's put out right now, this is a Trojan horse. They had 99% of the countries voted to ratify it at the UN. It's only going to require 75% to change it. And they do have a passing reference to small arms. It is not about just the transfer of major arms between countries.
Right, exactly. And so then they just need a 2/3 majority here in America. Do you think that's going to happen in Congress?
Right. We've got an article today at InfoWars, and pointed out, one of the senators pointed out to Obama, since he seems to not want to follow the Constitution or the procedures, he pointed out that the Senate has to ratify it. So after Kerry signed it, that doesn't really mean anything. As far as the Constitution goes, the President has to sign it, then the Senate has to ratify it. And then even if they ratify it, it still doesn't alter the Constitution, but there would be legal challenges that people would have to mount. You know that the government is still going to enforce this, just like they enforce other unconstitutional laws. Even when the courts find against them, they continue to arrest photographers. They continue to enforce the gun control laws in Washington, D.C., even though the Supreme Court threw it out 5 years ago. But the key thing to remember is that when it goes to this next step at the Senate, it's not just 2/3 of the Senate, it's 2/3 of those who are present. And they can play games with that as well. Maybe they'll do something during a recess appointment. Maybe Harry Reid will try to get it through at that point.
Exactly. And Obama was just saying, I think a week ago on Sunday, about, that he was going to be ramping up the efforts for gun control. There's always sort of this strange timing.
Right. I wrote an article about the connections with false flags in this. Of course, the obvious one that everybody understands is the fact that Fast and Furious was obviously targeted towards this. It was laying the groundwork for this. These things don't just come out of nowhere. Like FDR said, there's no coincidences in this. There's no coincidence in the timing, and there's no coincidence that for quite some time, even under the Bush administration, they were transferring arms across the border to Mexico to try to create a public perception that this was a threat to people's safety, when it was really our government that was doing it. That got busted wide open. The New York Times pointed out that it was a manufactured effort. In other words, a false flag. There's no question about that. 1 week before this came up for a vote last July was the Aurora, Colorado shooting. Exactly 1 week. They were trying to get the initiative back. They were trying to scare the public again because the public already, they saw that the emperor had no clothes when it came to Fast and Furious. They still couldn't get any traction on it because the Republicans were using this to score points before the election. So they said, we're going to wait until after the election. We'll do it in the lame duck session. Hours after Obama was reelected, declared the winner in the reelection, they said, we're going to wait and do it in the spring, which they subsequently did. And they had, for 3 months, we heard about the next shooting, which was the Sandy Hook shooting.
Exactly. And now it is kind of like this huge war for the mind, because not only are they going after the Second Amendment, but they're going after the First Amendment as well. Now they're trying to tie in whistleblowers like Edward Snowden and Manning in with the Aaron Alexis and other mass shooters.
But then what's the question? You're a security expert, Mr. Gomez. You tell me, what do we do now? For every Snowden and for every Aaron Alexis who got through and did some damage, how many others are out there? And what's the process now? Do we go back and spend hundreds of millions of dollars more re-vetting all the people who have so far been vetted because we're not sure it was done properly?
And we were telling people who buy it, so many people are very passionate and should be about defending the freedom of speech, about stopping government surveillance, and defending whistleblowers like Edward Snowden, but they attack the Second Amendment. The Guardian is a very good example of that. They've been tireless in defense of free speech and Fourth Amendment protections, but they throw the Second Amendment under the bus. And as we pointed out, these are authoritarians. They're coming after all of these. And as Alex started out the sequence, making the comparisons to Hitler and Mao and Stalin, one of the things that they do after they take the guns, they take the journalists. They line them up against the wall because they don't want people talking about what they're doing. So they always take the journalists. So this is about control. This is total control. And this is them coming after the First and the Second Amendment.
Thank you so much, David Knight. Well, there is no doubt a war on for our minds. I was actually just watching State of Mind, the Psychology of Control again last night. The movie is so good, and it gets into just how far back this plan for total control goes. You can pick that up at theinfowarsstore.com. For a limited time, it's on sale, actually.
Jakari Jackson here, and I want to talk to you for a second about water. You know about ProPure, our flagship water purification system, but check out some of our portable water filter products at InfoWarsStore.com. The clearly filtered water pitcher. Also, for those of you on the go, we have the Athlete Edition filtered water bottle and the RAD Eliminator Pro filtered sports bottle that removes radiation. And keep in mind, we have replacement filters for all of these products. The ever-popular grab-and-go bag favorite, the Life Straw, the Crystal Quest shower filter system, and the Aquapod kit, great for mass storage of water. And while you're at the InfoWars shop, pick up a copy of our latest book, 31 Days to Survival. You can find all this and more at the InfoWarsStore.com, and don't forget, it's your support that funds our operation. Sign up for our free newsletter at InfoWars.com/newsletter.